everybody. This is Lara from Light Body Healing and Consulting, and today I want to talk to you about listening to your body. And your body is always talking to you, but the question is, are you listening? And this is really a learned skill, unfortunately. It's something that we're born with, but as we go through life and we are conditioned by society, listening to our bodies is something that we really have to make a concerted effort at first, and then it becomes more automatic. But for most of us, we go through life and we're pretty unconscious, and we're distracted by everything around us, and we really look for the answers outside of ourselves. But if we stop and listen and center, then really the answers are within us and are coming from our inner guidance all the time. So everything that is going on within us is a signal, is a message. So your bowels, your sleep, your mood, your emotions, all of these things are ways that your body communicates with you, and that you are receiving guidance, and it should be helping you make the right decisions in your life. So one of the first things to do is be the objective detective. Don't be judgmental. Don't be so hard on yourself. Once you recognize that maybe you have a habit that might not be the healthiest, it's just recognize it and accept it and say, okay, well, now I know this and now I can move on and I can change it. But don't beat up on yourself and then call yourself names, or, really just be down on yourself, because that's not productive. But we all do it, and so the key is to catch yourself in the act and stop and reframe. So the first step, the objective detective, and also asking yourself, what role is stress playing in my life? And really be honest with yourself. Even if we think we don't have a stressful life, sometimes we can inadvertently stress ourselves out by that negative self-talk and that self-judgment. Or maybe we do have a really stressful life. Maybe we work multiple jobs, or maybe our kids have a million things that they're doing and we're the mom taxi, or maybe our dogs or our pets or our cats drive us crazy, or our spouse or siblings, family, whatever it is. There's a million ways. Maybe it's just watching the news. I know I catch myself. I don't really watch the news anymore, but I read the news, and I can definitely tell you that my coworker always knows when I've read the news, because my mood and my attitude changes and it's not good. So I have to catch myself and I have to turn it off and let it go. So where are you allowing stress to take hold in your life? And really be aware of that, because our bodies were not meant to be in this constant state of stress. And so, when we're in that constant state of stress, it really causes inflammation. Chronic inflammation, that's the bad inflammation. That's the inflammation that does damage. Acute inflammation, I've talked about this before, but I'll mention it again. Acute inflammation is like you have a cut and your body forms a scab. And that is how your body heals. So there are several ways that our body has healthy inflammation, and that's usually in the acute state, which means it's short-lived and it heals you and your body moves on. But chronic inflammation is when you're in a constant state of stress and you start to damage your body because you have all these inflammatory things going on, and it really wears down and breaks down in your body over time. And it can start with one organ system and it can carry through the others. So a lot of talk right now is about the HPA axis, and you might not know what that is, but some people call it adrenal fatigue. And for a long time it was called adrenal fatigue or adrenal disorder, but now we're recognizing this triad of the HPA, and so it might start with your adrenals, and then once those get exhausted, it affects your thyroid. And then once that's burned out, then it starts affecting your other hormones, like your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So anyway, stress is bad, and if you let it go on long enough without being recognized, or without being interrupted, or without being healed, then it can cause real damage, real health concerns, real disease states. So you definitely want to be aware of where your stress is coming from and what you're going to do about it and how you're going to, for lack of a better word, nip it in the bud. So your body is a united front. We're all this one big thing right here. It's not, just your brain and just your gut and just your, ovaries or testes or, it's the whole thing, the whole big picture, and it all talks to each other. So when you are stressed out, maybe you feel it in your gut, but that gut signal travels to your brain, and that brain signal travels to another organ system. So it's all connected, and you really can't disconnect the role that stress plays on your body and then the disseminated effect it has within your body. So be aware of that. Western medicine will look at your one organ system and they will give you a pill or something. Hopefully maybe your doctor will give you another piece of advice besides a pill, but I'm a pharmacist, so my life surrounds around drugs, and usually you get a pill for your one problem. If you have acid reflux, you get a PPI, or maybe something like Pepcid or Zantac. But once you take that one pill long enough, it alters the pH in your GI tract, which has cascade of effects. So you can have decreased absorption of some vital minerals and vitamins, and that's just one example. So make sure you're looking at your body as a whole entire system. And the next thing is you want to set aside time for silence. And I know this can be difficult in our really hectic lives, but it's really important. So whether it's you set your alarm for an extra 10 minutes in the morning, or you give yourself an extra 10 minutes before bed, maybe you have a 10-minute break during the middle of your day, but just some time to have no phone, no TV, no one interrupting you. You can sit in silence, close your eyes, listen to yourself breathe, listen to your heartbeat, and really just be with yourself for 10 minutes in silence and listening to all those things that are going on inside of you and slowing it down. And just that alone can do wonders for your stress level, therefore your inflammation in your body, and then therefore all the other cascade of health effects that I just spoke about earlier. So also too, with that, I would suggest keeping a little journal or something you can jot down notes, because I know our minds can always be going, but in that 10 minutes of silence, you'll get messages, you'll get little hits of intuition and guidance, and so you'll want to write those down. I mean, if it's something big enough, you'll remember it, but I know me, when I meditate, I sometimes get a lot of really great ideas, and if I don't write them down eventually, or right afterwards, then I'll forget them. And they might come back to me, but it's really important just to, write down whatever popped up for you at that time. So the other thing is, I know this is a newsflash, but you are your best health advocate, not your doctor, not your spouse or your kid or, your best friend, but you. It's you. It's your life. It's your health. So it's you have to speak up for yourself and be in tune and listen, and I'm going to say a bad word, you have to give a shit. So it's really important that if something you go to the doctor and something doesn't feel right, or you don't feel like you're being listened to, or you're not getting the response that you feel like you should, either speak up or find a new doctor, find a new healthcare practitioner that will listen to you and that will discuss things with you and respond in a fashion that you find appropriate. So the next step in learning how to listen to your body is following your passion. And I know this seems sort of at times a big load of BS, and it's oh, people always say that, but what does that mean? Well, to me it means finding whatever makes you happy during the day and doing it. So like I said, we're all busy, but you have to schedule it in. So is it playing music? Is it being outside and being active? Is it spending time with your pets or your children? Whatever it is, maybe it's going to get a mani-pedi, or maybe It's, going to happy hour for a cocktail. Whatever it is, schedule it in, write it in your calendar, because if you don't make it a priority, you'll blow it off and you'll do all these other things that you feel like you have to do or you should do, all of the ways that we're not setting healthy boundaries for ourselves. You'll blow you'll blow the good stuff off to do the things that you feel like you should, even though the best thing you can do for yourself is self-care. So when I hear follow your passion, to me, I think the best way to achieve that is in the little things. And eventually the little things turn into big things. So if you do something you're passionate about, even if it's just for 10 minutes every day, like maybe it's playing piano or playing guitar for 10 minutes, whatever it is, or maybe you're reading a book, or maybe you're a writer, so just writing for an hour a day. Eventually those things, you will be living your passion because you're doing that stuff that gets your juices flowing and gets you excited and gets you happy and feeds your soul. So that's really important. And when you do those things, it's like another step beyond that 10 minutes of silence. And so you'll still have guidance coming in, and you'll be able, listen to yourself and your soul and your intuition and all that good stuff. So the next thing is know how to say no. Set healthy boundaries. You don't have to say yes to everything. If you don't think that you can give your all or be 100% present for whatever it is someone's asking you to do, then say no and say, I really appreciate you asking, or I really appreciate you thinking that I could do a good job at this, but I'm overextended, so I'm going to, do us both a favor and say no. Or maybe, it's a family member that always comes to you for, something, and so you just have to say, no, I don't have enough time, I have too much on my plate, whatever it is. No is a complete sentence, and no is a healthy response for both you and the other person. Because if you say yes when you really can't commit, then the other person is going to feel that, and so it's not only going to reflect in your performance, but it's going to be reflective in that energetic exchange, and they're going to feel it, and it's just not going to be good, and it could cascade into something a lot bigger and worse. So no is a complete sentence. It's part of healthy boundaries, and again, it's part of listening to your body. If someone asks you to do something and you get like a twinge in your stomach or a little flutter in your chest, or you're just like, you can feel it before you even answer, and that's the sign to say no thanks. Or like, you can use tact and you can be gentle and you can be nice. You don't have to be rude, but just do, like I said, do yourself and the other person a favor and say no. Okay, what's the next? Say goodbye to the things that make you miserable. I know it sounds like it should go without saying, right? But a lot of us just make do, and we would grit our teeth and we push through, and again, that misery just adds to our stress, which will add to our chronic diseases and, all the bad stuff. And we don't want that stuff in our lives. So if you can't totally cut something out of your life that's making you miserable, maybe it needs to be reframed and re-looked at. Like, how can I turn this into something that is positive? Or, can I change my attitude and how I approach this? So those are some things that, they're like, maybe it's your job. Maybe your job makes you miserable, but you can't leave your job because it pays your bills. So that's a predicament that a lot of people are in. I think a lot of Americans are in that situation. And, so it's, can you take steps to find a new job? Maybe it's updating your resume. Maybe it's getting new skills. Maybe, it's following that passion when you're not at work, so that eventually your passion turns into your career. There are lots of ways that we can say goodbye to those things that make us miserable. We were not put on this planet to be miserable. And when we're miserable, a lot of times, even if we don't mean to, we can leak our energy out and make all those around us miserable too. And I'm sure none of us want to make those that we love miserable around us. So again, do both yourself and others a favor, and try to get rid of those things in your life that make you miserable. And really focus on what makes you happy. The relationships, your family, your social networks, your activities, your alone time, whatever it is, just really try to feed in all of those things that make you happy, and eventually it'll crowd out the stuff that makes you miserable. The next thing is, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but eat real food. I know that's a shocker coming from me, who's a health coach and a pharmacist, but eat real food, because it really does affect how you feel and how you function and how you respond in life. So part of listening to your body is when you eat something, if it doesn't make you feel good, maybe you shouldn't eat it anymore. It took me a long time to realize that eggs make me feel like crap. So I used to, go to breakfast, order an omelet, and, especially after I went gluten-free, I'm like, well, eggs are high in protein and they have lots of good cholesterol in them, so but I would always still feel like crap after breakfast. So I started cutting out the eggs and I felt a lot better. So that's just one example. And you don't have to change everything at once. If you know you have overall not so great diet, but the thought of changing everything at once is overwhelming, that's natural. That kind of is setting yourself up for failure. If you try to change everything at once, you will most likely fail or relapse in your bad eating. Sorry, I'm going to have some water. So just change one thing per month. Maybe it's sodas. Maybe you have a diet soda with lunch every day, and you think it's not a big deal, but it has aspartame in it, which is bad for your brain and bad for your metabolism, or I don't know, maybe you still eat muffins or bagels or I don't know, whatever people eat, donuts. So those things aren't great, but you do it anyway. Well, maybe it's time to take just the one step and change the one thing. So I don't really like the concept of cutting out. I like the concept of crowding out and adding in. So what are you going to choose that's yummy, that you love, to take the place of that? So again, I don't want you to live in a state of deprivation and misery because you're eating healthy. Just because you're eating healthy doesn't mean you have to be miserable. So be honest with yourself and examine what you're eating and figure out where could I make some changes with love, and then start doing some research or start experimenting with new things and find something that you love just as much. And so when you add that in, you're just as satiated, and then you feel better instead of feeling like crap afterwards. So whether it's maybe having bulletproof coffee instead of the Starbucks latte. And what's the difference? Well, bulletproof has lots of good fats, and no sugar, so you get the energy boost and it's sustained throughout the day, and your body learns to burn fat as fuel that way as well, versus the Starbucks latte is full of sugar and artificial crap. And so it tastes really good and you have that spike, but then you crash an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours later, and then you just need more. And it's a great market model for Starbucks, who wants to make money, but it's not such a great model for your health and for you, who wants to feel good throughout the day. So again, eat real food, just change one thing per month, be gentle with yourself, be loving to yourself, talk to yourself like your best friend would talk to you. That's also a habit that you have to build in, at least something I had to. But your job in life is to be your best self, to be as healthy as you can, to be as present as you can, to take as much joy in life as you can. Because if you can't do that for yourself, then you can't be present and be all those things that everyone else needs you or wants you to be. So really, taking your health as a priority, being your own best advocate, all of these things You can't shine your light out to the world if your light is dull because you're exhausted and depleted. So I know you want to be as many things as possible to as many people that you love. So start with yourself, and then everyone around you will notice that and will love being around you, and then will mirror that back to you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, comment below. If you have questions, definitely leave those below. If you are a female that wants more personalized attention, I have a private Facebook group called Exhausted to Love and Life. And if you want to join that, you definitely can. Just hit me up about that too. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Dr. Lara May, DrLaramay. And I think that's it for today. If you